It might be a stormy day outside, but here inside Hamad International Airport, it's nearly the best airport experience possible. Welcome to Doha. I just arrived from Abu Dhabi on a bit of a harrowing flight as storms ripped through the region. Now, I have 8 hours to lounge hop. While the airport was opened in 2014, there's a big chunk of it that continues to be under construction. The additional gates that we're walking towards now were opened in time for the 2022 World Cup, but the part of the concourse that is worth visiting the most in its own right opened in 2023. Before we take a tour of the very jewel-like gardens though, let me welcome any of you that might be new to the channel. My name is Kevin. I'm here to give you a self-funded and honest look at some of the best and some of the not so best airlines and hotels in the world, which I've been bringing to you full-time for the past 4 years. Check out my hundreds of videos, scan the QR code, or click the link in the description to learn more about the channel. For now, let's get into the trip report. The newer area is easily accessed with an airside train, taking you back and forth between the two hubs of the airport in just a couple of minutes. This central building here in front of me, which connects the D gates and E gates, is what opened in 2023. But this isn't the good side. Walk through the duty-free shops and then you'll see what I mean. Welcome to the garden. If you see some similarities between here and Singapore's Jewel at Changi, you're not alone. By far, the best part about this new area though is the Mourjan business class lounge at the garden, which I'll just call the Garden Lounge. You're greeted with a chargeable Louis Vuitton lounge and cafe, but just keep walking and you'll find what is one of my top 5 lounges globally. A place that I'd much rather be than Qatar's other business class lounge, or even its Al Safwa first class lounge, both of which we'll see in a bit. Loads of seating, a la carte dining, beautiful small buffets, private relaxation rooms, and just an open and airiness about it is the focus here. If you're enjoying the video and would like to support the channel, there are many ways that you can do so. A quick like on the video or clicking subscribe helps the video with the algorithm. You could join my YouTube channel memberships to get early access to some videos and access to all of my community posts. Or you could check out my Patreon, where I post the most and can help you out with any travel related questions. Whatever you do, thanks for doing it. Now, heading back to the other side of the terminal, let's check out the Al Safwa First Class Lounge. I was able to access this lounge since my arriving flight was in Qatar's regional first class product. For some eligible passengers, you can access it for 6 hours for $165. The design here was inspired by Doha's Museum of Islamic Art, and while it looks empty and serene now, this place absolutely bops at certain times of the day. Since many of Qatar's regional flights are designated as first class instead of business, there are quite a few people that can access this lounge. Among them, though, are generally not One World elites. Qatar operates 14 lounges in this airport, for all different purposes and passengers, and One World Emeralds can access their 2 Platinum lounges. Similarly, One World Sapphires can access their 2 Gold lounges. Qatar even has a Silver lounge for their own Silver members. While here, I was successfully getting one of the private sleeping rooms, which are really hard to get during busy periods. Access is limited to 6 hours, but that would be more than enough. I had a couple hours nap and then headed to the 250-seat restaurant. I'm about to mention a first world problem, so relax, but the offerings here, in the context of what you would expect of a first-class lounge, leave a bit to be desired. The wine list here is the exact same as in the business class lounge, and a few food items might be unique to here, but they're of the same caliber as all of the other lounges. This is one of the main reasons why I prefer the Garden Lounge over here. I think the atmosphere is nicer, and if there's no fancy wine or champagne or whatnot to drink here, I would rather stay at the Garden. Last up, because why not, is the not Garden Al Mourjan Business Class Lounge. It is beautiful and feature-packed with a quick service restaurant as well as a full a la carte restaurant, but it gets extremely crowded, much more so than the Garden Lounge since most people don't even realize that one exists. Qatar absolutely dominates the departures board here, and they are slowly but surely trying to dominate the skies on every other continent as well. The airline, or the sovereign wealth fund, one and the same really, owns shares of airlines on every continent. 49% of Rwandair and 25% of Airlink in Africa, 25% of IAG, the parent company of British Airways, Iberia, and others in Europe, 10% of Latam Group in South America, 9.99% of Cathay Pacific in Asia, a small minority stake in JSX in North America, and most recently, a 25% stake in Virgin Australia in Australia. Their cookie jar is a very large one. The boarding gate was organized by Boarding Group, which makes what is usually just a cattle call style boarding process slightly more organized. Our flight tonight would be operated by a 9-year-old 787-8. Saigon gets a mix of just about every long-haul aircraft in their fleet, including the 777s with Cathay or Virgin Australia seats. All 787-8s, A380s, and 24 of their A350s have these reverse herringbone seats. As I mentioned in a previous A380 review, they're very comfortable seats, but it does feel like the shell of them was designed purposely to be very low. But that doesn't really matter too much when you're at the bulkhead, with all this extra space in front of you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard your flight 974 March.
As for the seat itself, I think this one does a really nice job of balancing open surfaces and closed storage space. This version feels much more accommodating than some of the other reverse herringbone models out there. One quirk is that while the armrest does go up and down, it's only done so via the buttons in the keypad. Don't almost break yours like I did mine. I know some of you, most of you, are anti-Qatar Airways simply because of the fear of being Qatar. But I'll speak about why that's not really a problem these days in a bit. For now, I'm going to enjoy my pre-departure bubbles and watch the safety video as we push back. Beautiful views of downtown Doha coming up. Let's take a look at the onboard amenities before we have our first meal. As always, we have their oblong and firmly packed pillow, which is great as a throw pillow, but less so for sleeping, in my opinion. Then they have their very heavy blankets, which I do think have been changed a bit to be more plush in the past year or so. The amenity kit is by Diptyque and is in an updated dual zip pouch. Again, another first world problem comment, well aware, but I do think it's time for Qatar to update their amenities. There's literally nothing wrong with them, and I wouldn't even want the Diptyque amenities to change. But I think Etihad is a good example of how much heavy lifting a simple update to pillows and blankets and things like that can do for the entire experience. It's all just getting a little bit boring. The flip side of that, though, is it is wonderfully consistent. Let's get into dinner. Here's the full menu. The red prices on the wine list are my addition, so you can have an idea of the wine value on board. Of course, the wine is free. It seems the storms weren't done with me yet today. The flight deck put on the seatbelt sign and the crew were seated for nearly an hour. Once that seatbelt sign came off though, the crew sprang into action and I quickly had my starter, the Arabic meze. Today's offering was pesto hummus, labna tahini, and avocado muhammara. I think the way that Qatar mixes up their meze offerings constantly speaks to what I said about the amenities. You'll never get bored about their meze, and for that, I think they have one of the best offerings of all of the Middle Eastern carriers. A solid 9 out of 10. For the main dish, I had the Qatari spiced chicken makbous with dakus sauce, crispy onions, and sultanas. I have a sort of makbous radar when looking at airline menus. It jumps out to me and I instantly make my choice without even looking at the other offerings, and I have not regretted it yet. 8.4 out of 10. Qatar does have full a la carte anytime dining, but most of the passengers follow a typical after takeoff, prior to landing eating schedule. For dessert, one of the most intriguing desserts that I've had in a while, a chocolate caraway mousse with raspberry cremeux, vanilla crumble, mango, and berries. Always beautifully presented, always a little bit too much, but always really good. 8.8 out of 10. As we take a look at the entertainment, loungewear, and bedding, I'll quickly make my point about being Qatar. If you didn't know, this is the adopted term for booking Q suites and having an aircraft swap, or just booking an all-aisle access business class and not getting that. At the height of the dispute between Qatar and Airbus, this actually was a pretty big problem because they brought a lot of older planes back into service. I'm not downplaying that it's not a bummer to not get the seat that you booked. And I do think that Qatar should market it a bit differently, though they have made it more clear when booking now that you're buying a business class ticket, not a Q suite ticket. But anyway, it's much less of a problem these days by the numbers. Qatar has Q suites on some of their 777s, A350s, and 787-9s. In total, they have 132 of this type of aircraft, and 92, or 70% of those, have Q suites. If we zoom out a bit and look at the full wide-body fleet, and just focus on lie-flat seats or all-aisle access, the numbers are much more favorable. 100% of their wide-body fleet has lie-flat seats. As for all-aisle access, 164 of their 186 wide-body aircraft have it. That's 88%. For a quick comparison, 100% of Etihad's 63 wide-bodies have that. Approximately 53% of Emirates' 252 wide-bodies have it as of now, though they are retrofitting around 2 aircraft per month right now. Finally, Turkish only has all-aisle access on 36% of their 130 aircraft. So I'm not trying to be a Qatar Airways fanboy here, but it's safe to say that Qatar hysteria is a bit overdone at this point. As the sun started to come up, all I could think about was how much I really did not want another meal. But for research purposes, of course, I went with a continental selection. A beautiful fruit plate, yogurt parfait, croissant, and the star of the show, the mango and coconut smoothie. Service on board is the level of service that I generally hope for on a Qatar flight, since admittedly service can be a bit hit or miss, though it's never been poor in my experience. The crew were friendly and efficient without being all of that engaging, but on an overnight flight that started off bumpy, I'd say no one needed more than that. The lounges, great food, comfortable seat, and decent service are keeping them right where they are. Enjoy the sunrise landing. Side note, for years, up until 2 years ago, I'd always said things along the lines of, I don't know why everyone dogs on Saigon's arrival experience, it's pretty efficient. Well, this has changed dramatically in the past 2 years, and I have not seen a line under 45 to 60 minutes in that time. I pay for fast-track immigration every time I land now, and I promise you will not regret searching for that online and doing the same. So I hope you enjoyed this lounge-filled trip report today. If you did, please be sure to click the like button and subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss out on my twice-weekly videos. I'll see you next time for a biggie which I promise you do not want to miss. My review of the Regent Bali Canggu. As always, thanks for watching until the end.